people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Okay, we'll start with this. A prevalent rumor that's been getting around the last 24 hours. The source is Toby Morgan, who recently sat down with Bob Santos, Mario Barrios' trainer, who stated the PBC has informed him that a fight between Spence and Barrios at a possible catchweight for Barrios' first title defense could be next this summer. I'm very skeptical with any news involving Errol Spence Jr. and who he may be facing in his ring return, because for the better portion of a year now, they told us that he would be facing Sebastian Fundora in his next fight. I said it wouldn't happen. If you've been with this channel for at least the last 12 months, you will have heard me say on repeat, I don't think Errol's gonna do it. I think it's suicide. To come off of the beating that he took at 147, to then face Sebastian Fundora straight away at 154? No way. And that fight never materialized, thus characterizing what I'm talking about and why I'm skeptical of any news involving Errol's ring return. But this news doesn't come to us by way of a podcaster looking to cultivate clicks, or a fan with a monetized Twitter account. This news comes to us by way of Mario Barrios' trainer. So maybe there's something to it. Maybe it's an idea that was bounced around. Something that was discussed. Fighting Mario Barrios, even at a catchweight, is still safer than facing a Sebastian Fundora or any of those junior middles straight away for Errol Spence Jr., who's coming up on not just 1, but 2 years of inactivity. July marks 2 years from the Crawford fight. Mario Barrios is little more than just a placeholder with a belt. A guy who's got a title until somebody better comes along and takes it from him. And he has yet to defend it. There are implications. Big ones. The most obvious being Errol Spence Jr.'s ring return, but not just his ring return. His return to the welterweight division. I thought that he couldn't make welterweight anymore. A part of this rumor is that this would be for Mario Barrios' WBC title. Would the WBC allow it? Well, a part of the rumor is that it would be at a catchweight, but if you're talking about a catchweight anywhere north of 147, how could it be for a welterweight title? Wouldn't that negate it from being a welterweight contest if you're talking about a catchweight anywhere north of 147? The World Boxing Council, would they allow it? You know that I wouldn't put it past them to put a belt back in Errol Spence Jr.'s hands. I don't dismiss the possibility that they would bend the rules. What distinguishes one weight class from another, 147 from 154, to put a title in Errol's hands. Underneath it all, I don't put it past them. More implications. Hypothetically speaking, if they were to put this fight together and Errol Spence Jr. were to win it, that would put him within Jaron Ennis's crosshairs, because it is Jaron Ennis's intention to unify the welterweight division. So if by some chance Errol picks up a title there, that makes him a target. Bigger one than Brian Norman. And all of the focus moving forward, not just Jaron Ennis's, but the boxing community at large, would center around a Boots Ennis versus Errol Spence fight. That would immediately become the biggest fight to make in the welterweight division and put pressure on Errol. You don't just get to come back and hold the title hostage. If you win a belt, people are going to want to see you unify it with Boots. And I don't like Errol's chances. No, sir. The hang-up was that Terence Crawford wanted the rematch between them to happen at welterweight, where Errol's team would have preferred it happen at junior middle. So if after all this time you're now returning, remember what the clause was. The winner of the fight chooses the weight for the rematch. Terence won. He said he wants it at welter. At which point, some time passes and Errol decides he doesn't want the rematch. He walks away. So that now you can shoot for an alphabet title in the welterweight division. It is a little hard to imagine that this is going to come into fruition the way they're describing it.
Bob Santos.
Bob has been trying to put Mario in creative situations that range from a Manny Pacquiao fight, Manny Pacquiao who's been out for years now, to an Errol Spence Jr. fight, who's also been out for at least 1 or close to 2 years now.
Obvious reasons.
Mario Barrios is the weakest link, and believe it or not, I would still pick Errol Spence Jr. to beat him. I don't know about the others. I don't think he beats Boots, not sure about Norman, but if he has to fight Mario Barrios, he can beat him.
Yeah, he can beat Barrios because Barrios sucks.
So much of how a fighter's career is managed is all centered around their ability or the lack thereof. When it's the latter, the fighter has to be extra careful, extra cautious. So when you're only looking at guys that have been inactive for a while, like Manny, who's in his early 40s, or Errol, who's quasi-retired,
Ambition is not a luxury that Mario Barrios can afford. If what we're talking about is unifying this division and fighting the other champions, you'd lose your belt as soon as you tried.
they wish to optimize his earnings, get the most out of being a champion, and I don't know that they have a lot of time to do it because next month, the World Boxing Council is staging an eliminator between unbeaten Sulaiman Sissoko and Egis Kavaliauskas. The winner of that fight becomes his mandatory challenger.
Obviously, they're gonna want their crack at the apple.
So if you want to do an Errol Spence Jr. fight, you better get a move on.
I don't think we have to wonder if the PBC is shameless enough to put this together because they're the same ones that put together a rematch between Robert Guerrero and Andre Berto when their initial meeting was about 11 years before the rematch.
Who the hell was asking for that? If they had the gall, if they had the audacity to do that, I don't put this past them.
There are a lot of people saying that Errol shouldn't even box anymore.
But you see that they've dusted off the Charlo brothers after all of their time away from the ring. They're bringing them back. The idea that they might also try to bring back Errol?
I don't put it past them.
I don't put this past them. And I don't put it past the World Boxing Council that they might actually sanction it, even if they have to bend the rules.
What rules? They make the rules up as they go along.
Was there any sort of offer to step aside to just wait for this third fight to happen and then go and face the winner?
Yeah, no, there was no step aside. We don't do that, We either you fight or you don't. We're not gonna move to the side just for money, like I said.
We received a large amount of millions to fight Smith, and we denied it.
Wait a minute, Jose. You said there was no step-aside offer. Samson Lukowicz said something else. He said they offered you guys Callum Smith.
They can never get their story straight.
Either you fight or you don't fight. I don't believe on step asides.
If Bivol wins this fight, like what they would have to do a rubber match. You know what I mean? And like I'm just like thinking, who am I to say that they can't fight another fight because they've fought 2 great fights.
Do you see what I mean about these guys? This is what David had to say ahead of the second fight, ahead of the rematch, that he wouldn't have a problem letting them fight for a third time. Who is he to stand in the way?
So that his father and his manager or his promoter or whatever it is Samson does can come out singing a somewhat different tune. Because if you didn't have a problem with them fighting for a third time, why have you been angling for a vacant title?
What was David's reaction to this, Jose? Have you had a chance to talk to him since this has happened?
Like I said, that's not the way that he wanted to get that belt. But at the end of the day, oh well, something must have happened there, not to defend the belt.
Something did happen. Artur won the first fight. Dimitri won the rematch, and everybody knew there would be a third fight. Everybody, including your son. That's what happened. What are you playing, stupid?
I don't think he's playing.
I guess, what do you guys do at this point? Like, who are you guys looking at? Like, and when are you looking at for a return for David?
We had already something going because we didn't know what was going to happen. We were thinking about going fighting. Our plan was to fight Better before Bivol. Those 2 guys, the best fighters in the division. But if for some reason that didn't happen, we didn't know what was going to happen with the belts. We were trying to fight Zurdo Ramirez. I talked to Zurdo Ramirez manager 4 days ago before the they announced that they gave the belt away.
Oh no, they didn't all of a sudden start thinking about a Zurdo Ramirez fight. They've been talking about that fight since before they fought David Morrell. That's right, as far back as November of last year.
This was always the plan, and this is why I've been telling you this in video after video. It was never their intention to fight the winner of Better Be versus Bivol, regardless of who it was or when. And it was always their intention to move up. They were never going to stay at light heavyweight very long.
And they wanted the fight. We wanted the fight, so that was an easy fight to make. So
Easy fight to make. Make? What, did you guys make it already?
we were already in talks about doing that. And Anthony Yard, that's another guy that's in the division, making a lot of noise. Kalen Smith looked impressive in his last win. So anything, anything. But we were looking more at Zurdo Ramirez fighting for his belts.
Did you catch that? He mentions the other guys in passing because underneath it all, he knows they're not committed to those fights, and the one they're really after, the one they were always going to do, was the Zurdo Ramirez fight.
He's like a Dr. Seuss book. The guy's too easy to read.
Now, I think we got to defend it at least once or twice, and maybe now we're thinking Anthony Yard, Callan Smith, or maybe also do a catch weight later in a fight or two with Zurdo Ramirez, maybe fight for all belts, the 175 and the cruiserweight. If not, we'll fight for Zurdo's belt. So he wants to fight. I think that's a great fight, a big fight that fans want to see two Mexicans get at it. Zurdo Ramirez is a great fighter, strong, big, and I think that's a good fight for the fans. So we're willing to give him that.
I've long maintained that the biggest part of selling David Benavidez is Canelo Alvarez because they can't do an interview with either him or a member of his team without Canelo coming up. I mean, the headline.
Jose Benavidez is mad that Canelo is fighting William Skull and is asking what he's done.
That is, what has William Skull done to earn a Canelo Alvarez fight that his son hasn't? Maybe it's not so much what Skull has done, but what he hasn't done. He didn't lose his title on the scales like your son did. He didn't lose it 2 times outside of the ring, dicking around like your son did.
It's not what William has done, it's what he hasn't done that sees him fighting Canelo Alvarez.
But that you're still sitting around doing interviews and talking about Canelo Alvarez when he's still at super middle, you're at light heavy, on your way to cruiser, what's the point?
When you go up to cruiser, are you still going to do interviews talking about Canelo Alvarez? Is that the only way to sell your son?
How disappointed is David with all this? I know Canelo was close to. Oh yeah, go ahead, Jose.
He's not disappointed. He's doing his own legacy. He's doing what he's supposed to do. At the end of the day, all this is benefiting him. He's happy. He's really happy with the performances that he's done, the fighters that he has fought, and look at where he's at now. He's a champion again.
But what is the value in becoming a champion this way, by way of an email title, what we used to call in the old days a paper champion, since you didn't win it from Dimitri? The title was manufactured.
What is the value in that? Do you think that because you have a WBC title now, that's going to sell more pay-per-views or that's going to put more money in your pocket? From the looks of things, you might leave this division before you actually defend it.
So what is the value in becoming a champion this way, that you are so glorifying it?
And that's what he was looking for. And he's going to keep grinding, keep working hard, and things will change, And
Well, if he's happy, what needs to change?
and they're just going to have to fight him. Otherwise, you don't want to fight. They're just going to say, here, master, take the belts. Just take them. We don't want to fight,
So then you guys are targeting what month, when for this return, Jose?
Well, we're talking maybe in August, somewhere around there, September, somewhere around there, everything changed. And, we're just, trying to see, he's been busy a little bit. And
I don't think David Benavidez comes back on that kind of schedule, no. I don't know that David Benavidez comes back until Zurdo Ramirez is free. Free to fight, free to do the fight that they've been planning. And before that happens, Zurdo's got to take care of the Cuban. I believe that fight is either in late June or early July, so there's no way Zurdo's available by either August or September.
And I don't know, but I'm getting the impression that David Benavidez may not return until Zurdo is available to fight.
There's talks about fighting Yard in his country. You know, that would be a great opportunity. Great.
Wait a minute. The same people who will not box the undisputed champion in Saudi would go to the UK for Anthony Yard?
I mean, you've been seeing what Samson Lukowicz has been saying, that he wouldn't go to Saudi. You saw what David Benavidez said when he was asked about it.
I feel like it'd sell more here, you know, to be honest with you. That's the one thing they talk about, like Turki Al-Rashid, and they say, would you ever fight with them over there in Riyadh? But at the end of the day, all my fan base is here in Las Vegas. I'm a Las Vegas fighter, you know what I mean? And I want to take advantage of this market because I've worked 11 years this is my first time having a freaking crowd like that, so I want to stay here.
So when it's about fighting Dimitri or Artur, you don't want to travel. You want to stay in America. You want to stay in Vegas. But you're going to go to the UK for Anthony Yard.
According to his father.
Well, that's because his father's lying. They're not going to go to the UK for Anthony Yard, for Callum Smith. He's lying.
Experience, you know, we want to go out and fight everywhere, you know, and for David to gain more fans and take David on a tour, you know, and whatever, we're ready for whatever, man. At any time, we're ready. We're ready to go anywhere, stay here, whatever. We're ready.
One thing about Team Benavidez is that they can never seem to get their story straight. Samson said they wouldn't want to travel. They wouldn't want to go to Saudi. David's been asserting that he is a Vegas fighter exclusively, where his father's saying they want to take him on a tour, a world tour, to the UK.
Here's reality. When he was pressed for answers as to who David is going to fight next and when, he didn't know what to say. So he threw anything out there that, we'll go to the UK. We'll fight Anthony Yard.
Callum Smith.
So bullshit. The plan is Zurdo Ramirez. And here's the kicker. Here's the twist. Even if this entire plan works out exactly like they want it to, Zurdo beats the Cuban.
He goes right into a fight with David. Let's go a step further. Let's fairy tale the goddamn thing. And let's say David wins.
Okay, now what?
I'll tell you now what. You get any amount of belts in the cruiserweight division, Jai Opetaia becomes your problem. Jai Opetaia is going to come after you, and you don't get to play the big man on campus with him.
You figure that you can beat Zurdo Ramirez because you've sparred him before, you know he's been beaten before, and he's a guy who moved up, just like you, so you like your chances. But do you like your chances against Jai? See, after you're done doing with Zurdo, whatever you're doing, if you beat him, it's just cruiserweights after that.
And I wouldn't go overstating the value of a Zurdo Ramirez win because Dimitri beat him already.
Didn't exactly turn Dimitri into Julio Iglesias, now did it? So why would it do that for you?
The fundamental flaw with David Benavidez's plan to abscond from the light heavyweight division to move up to cruiser for what they interpret as low-hanging fruit is that it's all centered around fear. It's all centered around risk management. They don't want to take any risks.
Making money, very good money, and staying unbeaten are mutually exclusive. You can't always do both, and these guys don't want to roll the dice.